following episode of Dave's Video Graveyard contains spoilers and naughty words. Listener discretion is advised.
Have you ever bought or rented a videotape that wasn't quite right? It may have been a pirate copy.
Ratings advice. Use it. It's on every...
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in little clothes.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up! One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Ma! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOWFM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard. A massive pleasure to be with you. Once again, it is a very exciting time here on DVG. It is not only me running things solo, but it is also a time once again for a guest choice special. And this evening, we are joined by Riot City Wrestling's Viking himself. It is Matt Grimm Basso. How you doing, Matt?
Good, Mr. Dave. How you going?
Oh, absolutely loving life. I've got to start off. I mentioned it on the social medias. Where's the other where's the other T gone in, Matt?
Mate, it's the best way to have it. The other T is not needed.
It's just excess?
It's excess, mate. Get rid of it. Cut it off.
Was it slowing you down?
It was. It's like swimmers, mate. Just got to cut off the fat.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know, you are a big part of Riot City Wrestling, a local indie league. And I hate using the word indie league because it almost feels like putting it down. I always have to preface that by saying the indies in pro wrestling are a million times... It is the breeding ground for what you end up seeing on television, if not better. Obviously, the tides are changing with the likes of AEW really leaning heavily into that content, much like is the E, which used to be the F. How did you get into wrestling? What turned you into the monster that sits before me?
Well, I think I started off just like a lot of people start off, where we liked wrestling as a kid. I grew up with a brother and we're always sort of beating each other up, and then we were playing all these other sports and we were doing acting and stuff as well. And eventually we much to our father's disappointment, we gave up footy and we were like, hey, Dad, I really want to try this wrestling thing. He was like,
was it a backyard thing where your brother was acting and you were fighting and you knocked into each other and your acting got into his fighting and his fighting got into your acting and you're like, there's something to it?
I think it all stems off, when you get the figures,
yes,
like the action figures at the start, and you make these giant battle scenes,
yep,
and you're like, it's basically all pretend, right? But you just don't want to give that up. So now you're a grown adult and you're like, instead of these figures, you're like, oh, we'll just do it with each other, And
that's, you would obviously have got over the years the F word that is in pro wrestling that is fake. But I always come back with that and say that, hey, sometimes body parts are also fake and they're big and larger than life and they're fantastic. So why not have a sport that encompasses that spirit?
Well, I think we've got the new era of wrestling that actually sort of half owns that term. And like I've heard the term and people throw it around, but I think half the time wrestlers in particular and a bunch of the fans that like it get really offended by the word for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are saying, oh, it's fake, as in, oh, it's all, nothing ever gets injured and nothing hurts at all. I think they just mean, oh, it's fake, as in it's predetermined.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. So you can't really be offended by that anymore.
I feel like anyone that gets up on their high horse about it needs to receive a Canadian destroyer at least once and be like, how'd you go? How was that? Did that feel like you think it did?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if they're saying it doesn't hurt and they're saying that, it's all just I don't know, like landing on a pillow or something like that, then by all means, you're wrong. We'll show you how wrong you are. But if you're just sort of picking on the fact, like, well, I love movies, and movies are fake.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that the stuntmen aren't really taking the falls and really doing the fight, if that makes sense.
Not liking professional wrestling is more of an indication of your ability to suspend disbelief. It's the same as people that came out of like the likes of Avengers Endgame. They're like, oh, the bit where such and such happened and all the girls carried stuff, that's so unrealistic. It's like, all right, take a few steps back.
That's the bit you're picking on?
Yeah.
That's the unrealistic bit?
Maybe, just perhaps, you should take a bigger look at the bigger picture. And they're like, oh, yeah, man, neckbeards are a lot of fun, particularly being that I'm also a neckbeard and a massive fan of Star Wars. But no one hates Star Wars more than a Star Wars fan. And it's becoming... There's that with wrestling as well. No one hates wrestling more than a wrestling fan.
Oh, God, some of them do my head in. You can't please everyone, and everyone's going to have a different taste with wrestling. Some people love the comedy stuff. Some people like the old-timey, it's just grappling and, you know, everything's got to look fully real. And other people love the aerial acrobatics and high-risk maneuvers and things. But you can't please everyone. That's why I always liked with RCW, we try and cover the board, and we've got someone that does a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Because that's, I don't know, to me, I like stories, and that's what we do. And there's infinite amount of stories that you can tell. But if you only limit yourself to one style of story, then you're going to have, less to run with.
Now, you said you grew up watching professional wrestling.
I did.
What was the X factor for you? What was the moment where you're like, this is pretty special?
100% Undertaker versus Kane.
Nice.
Amazing feud. I loved it. So when I say we grew up with it, I think we were at, and you'll actually appreciate this, went down to the Blockbuster in the holidays, and you get 7 weeklies for $7.
Lovely.
It was the best. It was the best. We'd never watched it before. We had 6 weeklies, and we're like, what do we get with this last one? Right. Anyway, there's a VHS of, I think it was Survivor Series, had Sergeant Slaughter on there. It was fantastic. And we're like, oh my God, this is really cool. Anyway, the next 7 we hire all wrestling movies. And sort of went from there and just kept going and kept going and kept going. But then, that was all we could get in Australia. It was just the tapes.
The
really
Coliseum home video.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then eventually we found, I think it was called Warzone. That was on Real, or Superstars. It was on Real late night.
Yes.
It's like 11:30.
Yep.
Way past our bedtime.
Yeah.
Mum, Dad let us stay up anyway. And straight after that was Nitro after that as well.
Yep.
It was always, I don't know, it was 3 months behind. And then you read the magazines or something like that, and they're, maybe 1 month behind.
I always love, because we had Foxtel at the time, and you'd be watching the current feud that was on television, particularly with TNT, because I was a massive Nitro fan. It used to be on Saturday nights on TNT, but some nights they'd forget to, because they'd switch to classic movies after that, because it was two different things. Sometimes someone would forget to flick the switch. So you'd turn it on and it was just gone with the wind for half the episode of Nitro. Then it would come on. But the storyline that was going on television, you'd then, I begged my parents, I'm like, here's my pocket money. Please let me get a main event pay-per-view of WCW. So I finally did. And it was, like you say, it was 3 pay-per-views later than what was on television.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Dennis Rodman?
Where's the storyline gone? What's happened? God.
Where's Jay Leno and Dennis Rodman? They were both supposed to be here.
It's like you're in the middle of the book and you just skip to the last page.
What was the first step you took with obviously pursuing actual professional wrestling? How did you do it? Because it's not exactly something where you can go along like a footy club at the time.
We sort of went the wrong way at the start, to be honest, man. We were just kids, 14 going on.
Are you about to admit a history of trash wrestling?
Mate, trash. We were backyarders at the start. We just found a bunch of other mates that also liked wrestling through message boards, if you remember those gimmicks.
I certainly do, and that's what I was thinking. That is the flashback I had when I said no one hates wrestling more than wrestling fans, was the old school Australian wrestling message boards and forums.
Yeah, that was so good. So we were just kids having fun, throwing each other around, in the backyard, hitting each other with chairs and God knows what. And then eventually we got a bit more serious and we went down to the Monster Factory, which was the actual pro wrestling training school. And that was in 2003. I think I was in year 12 at the time. I just started year 12. And then, so that's where it got a bit more serious, and we sort of figured out that we didn't actually know as much as we thought we knew. And from there, I don't know, after a while, that school closed, and then one of the old trainers from that school opened up another school, so we went with him for another sort of year and a half, and just sort of kept snowballing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been
snowballing. So
snowballing.
you really got really passionately into it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we started off just wanting to be wrestlers and just sort of have fun. And, geez, now I'm one of the guys that's sort of running the company for the last however long. How long's it been? Geez, what are we, 15 years now for RCW?
Well, don't ask me because I'm the guy. Oh, about 4 or 5 years ago when I finished high school, which was in 2003 also. And I'm like, oh, wait. It's like when I'm not even going to go down that sadness thing because you'll have to console me as I cry in the corner. So, who was your favourite wrestler of all time?
Oh, jeez.
Actually, no. I'll put it to you this way. You are put in charge of creating the Mount Rushmore of the 4 greatest wrestlers of all time. Can be from any league, anyone living or dead. It cannot be you, sadly enough.
Well, I mean, there goes number 3.
Well, there goes all 4.
All right, okay. If we're not taking 3 hours to debate and go over every point of
I
this,
get no input. I just nod my head.
There you go. We got to have Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and I feel like I should do a different era one in there. It's got to be either Hogan or Macho Man, and I probably want to give it to Macho Man just because I like him more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's debatable, but I just want to put him in there.
I like the genuine anguish and pain in your eyes to come up with the 4th one.
Oh,
You're
mate,
just like, because you get the pressure of you're like, I've got to throw in a wild card to show that I'm cultured in wrestling and stuff. So, I always deliberately throw in, like, terrible wrestlers. I'm like, Disco Inferno's got to be in there.
Glacier. The Wall.
Winnie Glacier. Scotty Too Hottie on his own. Like, it's really got to hit home.
But then you've missed The Undertaker. Oh, God, like, what do you do? And you know what it is? It's with lists, right?
Yes.
And this is the problem with lists, and especially your movie list as well. It's like, let's say it's top 10. You can do the first 5 easy, and then it starts to get hard, and you're like, now you got 2 left after you've done a few more, and you're like, God, now it becomes really hard. I've got to try and squeeze in these last couple.
And particularly with movies, because you think of one, and that makes you instantly think of another movie you associate with it.
Yeah.
Look, I can't put that on there if I've got this on there.
Yeah.
I'll need and you end up picking the less of 2 evils. I've never had to make the list, so I'm super
You've
stoked.
never made a list?
I've never made the list. Right. I have a general idea of what my top 5 is.
Okay.
But I've never actually had to make the list myself.
Schwarzenegger in there?
Schwarzenegger comes in at number 1.
Okay, good.
Terminator 2.
Good.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
At number 2. I would also put, even though it's a newer film, The Departed, just because I absolutely love that film.
Mm-hmm.
Big Trouble in Little China has to go on there. It's the law of the world.
God damn.
Does not matter. We will cover a lot of all that. So yeah, that's the ones that are set in stone, and then it.
So this is where you run into trouble, though.
I know.
Now you got 4. You need to lock this last one in, and it's impossible.
Off.
It's it. Ooh.
Face Off, because then you cover like John Woo. You cover a lot of things. I know how to do it.
Well
I just
played.
haven't done it myself. So that's what this evening's all about. It is your 10 favourite films of all time. So we're going to jump into a little bit of music here on DVG.
Groovy.
It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard. There we heard from, is it the Babs? Babs?
The Babes, I believe it is pronounced.
The Babes with Doghouse. Shout out to them. Went and saw a fantastic double feature at the cinema recently, which was just surreal to be back in a cinema to begin with, and also to be watching The Peak of Destiny, which is always a good time, and also Detroit Rock City, which is the second best Edward Furlong film.
I feel like sort of a traitor to my own wife here because she loves Kiss so much, and she obviously picked that movie to go up there. And I hadn't seen Detroit Rock City for years.
Yeah,
until like it was maybe, I don't know, a couple of months before that night at the cinema. She found out I hadn't watched it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I just haven't seen it. I'm sorry. Don't kill me. Then we watched it.
Kiss are Metallica for people that are born without musical taste.
Sorry?
Kiss are Metallica for people born without musical taste.
Oh, I don't know, mate. It's a
I'm
big
not
call.
a fan.
You're not a fan.
However, I do
but
love
the gimmicks.
Oh, 100%.
Glorious gimmicks.
The supply and demand style of rock and roll and merchandising everything. Love it. Absolutely love it. However, they're not the greatest songwriters that they're heralded as, which is quite upsetting. It's me being a heavy metal gatekeeper, essentially. It's like, oh, they're not cool enough. However, I absolutely love the film Role Models with Paul Rudd.
Yes.
And the end where they dress up as Kiss. That is
fantastic.
Fantastic film. Shout out to that film.
There you go.
So yeah, we are talking all about your life and your love of movies, and we have a quiz that we do every time. I'm not padding because I can't find the quiz.
Okay.
I'm just getting you ready.
Okay. All right.
So you were sent these
Wait,
questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, now I'm not ready.
Okay.
So we'll wait quietly for 10 seconds starting now.
Great radio.
Alrighty. So what was your local video store growing up?
Blockbuster on Goodwood Road.
Goodwood Road.
Yeah.
Oh, right up the Barnacle Bills end?
That's right, mate. Yeah.
I know it well.
Of course you do, if anyone's going to.
Who goes on your Mount Rushmore of actors or actresses?
Actually, hang on. I did think about this, and I'm definitely not padding because I had to think. Well, I haven't even written it down. What am I talking about? What was there? Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
Jim Carrey. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course.
Yep.
And once again, the problem with the list, I've got to make a number 4, and I can't remember who it was.
Throw in a lady because it's 2020.
You have to now?
Yeah.
It's got to be someone funny.
Oh, you've backed us into a terrible call.
You said that, man. You said that. You know what? If we're talking quality chick actors, let's go with what's her name? Goldie Hawn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Some good classic 80s in there.
Got us out of it. We are uncancelled. All right. Have you got what you paid for blank?
Might be a pirated copy?
No. It was phone.
It was phone?
Because, have you got what you paid for? And the final title card says phone. And you should only know that as a video watcher that fast forwards through that. All right. Would you prefer to watch a movie at home or at the cinemas?
Action or blockbuster, got to be the cinemas. Because you get the whole effect.
Yeah.
You know, you're there with the big speakers and the stuff. Unless there's someone eating behind you, because when people chew, I want to rip their faces off.
My trauma. Transformers 2. Guy eating a hot coals chicken in the cinema.
An entire chicken?
Entire chicken just with his hands. It was so upsetting. I'm pretty sure I met a vampire that day.
Okay. It was raw as well.
Yeah. I meant coals because he had hot coals and he was cooking it himself. What is your food of choice if you do go to the cinemas?
We usually get fruit chocks.
Fruit chocks? Ooh,
on, mate.
nice. Local.
Support your locals.
Cool.
Get around them. Shout out
it's
to fruit
got
chocks.
fruit in it. I'm
Give
a
me some
fat
free
guy.
stuff.
I don't want fruit in my chocolate. I'm fat.
It's basically a healthy meal, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's fruit.
Yeah.
You get your 5 fruits in if you eat fruit chocks. If you could only have one of the following genres for the rest of your life, would you pick comedy, horror, or drama?
I would say horror.
Nice.
There's got to be good ones. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be. It has to be either really good or terrible.
Well, it's a bit of a soft question because if you think about it, horrors can be funny and comedies can be scary and dramas can be a bit of both. So it's a bit
you're pointing out your own flaws.
Yeah, chicken way out. I'm just marking as I go.
Thanks, mate.
Which film that didn't get a sequel deserves one?
Okay. Can you say, like, Tron Legacy was technically a sequel?
Yep.
But it deserved another one?
Definitely.
Set up, or if you're talking ones that didn't have a sequel, True Lies.
Nice. That is... now you've ruined my night because it doesn't exist.
Right? But it totally needed one.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to find some fan fiction.
There you go.
Who would play you in a biopic?
Aussie
man?
Aussie man? Yeah, can I be selfish and say, clearly because I'm so handsome it would be someone like a Clive Standen or
Oh, nice,
or Drew Galloway. There you go.
You stick it. Oh, because obviously it'll be about wrestling. So
Yeah.
you're covering all bases.
There you go, and he can wrestle.
What is the main song for the title? What is the main title song in your biopic?
I want to say it'd be something cool. Like it'd be,
I can see the bit of paper in front of you, and I've noticed you've scribbled out "It's Raining Men." Was that one of the working ones?
it's up there.
Nice.
No, like you see those memes of guys, listening to heavy metal about Vikings and going raiding while doing the dishes.
Yes,
and
yeah.
wearing a little apron. I feel like that's me. So it probably would be His Raining Men in the end.
Nice. Which movie freaked you out the most as a child?
We hadn't seen scary movies because our parents kept them all, away from us because we were young. And then one day they went out and we were like, hey, Cree, who's my brother, we're like, let's watch Poltergeist. For whatever stupid reason. I don't even think I finished it. I think I just legged it out of the room. And then they came home. We're like, Mum, Dad, we're sorry. We watched the movie. Oh my God, I'm so scared. Blah, blah, blah. And it was either that one or Fern Gully. Remember Hexus?
Yes. Yep.
Hey, he was terrifying as a kid.
100%.
Yeah.
Another popular answer is obviously Artax in the Neverending Story.
Oh.
The horse.
Yes.
And the sadness.
Yes.
That comes up quite a bit.
Less scary and more just made you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had Animals of Farthing Wood come up before. I don't know if you remember that. It was the cartoon about the animals, and they'd always get run over by steam trucks and stuff like that, and
lighthearted
killed
comedy.
by hunters. Yeah, exactly what you want from a UK comedy for kids.
Okay, cool.
If you could drive one vehicle from a movie, what would it be?
It's got to be the Batmobile. I mean...
Yeah. 89?
What? Was that Kilmer?
Is that
Kilmer?
It's not Kilmer. It's Michael Keating.
I reckon it's good. Wait, was it Kilmer? I can't even remember now.
Keating was versus Nicholson, was the cool Tim Burton one. Kilmer's was similar, but it had a lot more Batwing.
Oh,
stuff
no,
on
it wasn't his then. Then it was Keaton. It
Yeah,
was definitely
Keaton was the matte black one.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice answer. I kind of was expecting you to say the van from Tango and Cash or something like that, or the Christmas Vacation, the family's green station wagon from Vacation.
So I love collecting toys and stuff, and I've never really been interested in collecting cars except for that one car.
Yeah.
That's the only toy, the only toy car.
I'm
collectible
exactly the same. I do not care about cars.
Yeah.
But if a DeLorean shows up, or the Griswold family car.
You just said DeLorean. Now I've got to think about that one. God.
What property, whether it be a TV show or a movie from your childhood, needs to be rebooted? We're not talking sequels. We're talking a gritty 2021, because movies don't get made this year.
Oh, no.
2021 best case scenario reboot of your childhood property. What would it be?
Can we do Disney live remake?
Can be anything.
Pagemaster.
Oh, what an answer.
Right?
That is a fantastic answer.
Imagine what they could do with that now.
Oh, that would be so good. And still have Christopher Lloyd in there as the Pagemaster.
Yes, even better.
Oh, what good times. Bring back Macaulay Culkin. No, maybe not.
He's a bit different now. Have it with, I don't know, McLovin.
That's a great bit of casting. McLovin is the rebooted version. If you could add your favourite fictional character of any film to another film, who would you choose and what would the film be?
All right. Have you heard? You ready for it?
Before you say it,
okay, you probably have heard.
we have had Beetlejuice put into Schindler's List. These are some of the bleak things that have come up on this show. So that's the ballpark.
Okay, all right. Have you heard of the Predator and Terminator crossover theory?
Oh, no. Oh, I reckon I have.
All right.
But that sounds amazing.
So the answer would be you would get either Predator into a Terminator movie or Terminator into a Predator movie, either way.
That'd be fantastic.
But it's basically, you ready for some theory? We got time?
Let's do it.
We got time.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Okay, so the theory, basically, that Dutch in Predator was actually
The prototype.
For the Terminator, and humans thought that they were starting to get out of control, or that Skynet, might be getting out of control, so they called the Predator back because they were mates from years ago. And the
Danny
Predator,
Glover had him on speed dial.
there you go, mate. Yeah, so Predator took him on, and Terminator won, and thus kept evolving and whatnot. And then that was when Skynet turned on the humans because they were like, you guys don't trust us. You tried to kill us by calling it this alien. So they turned on the humans, blah, blah, blah. It's actually...
It's magic.
It's pretty cool.
I just got fatter and hairier by hearing it. That is magical.
The neck beard has increased again.
That is mad. I went 2 shades darker of orange on my beard. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. I love it. I don't know why I haven't heard it before.
Yeah.
That is great.
And then this time, the Terminator would face off with Predator, and Terminator would have learnt as well. So he'd be knowing all about his cloaking technologies and rah-rah-rah, and it'd be a pretty cool battle.
Man, it would be better than every Terminator sequel after 2.
Yeah.
Damn. You've ruined my night. And Stan Winston designed both creatures, so it's all in the ballpark of reality.
It works. That's
amazing. Wow. We're going to retire that question because it's peaked.
That's it.
All right. The final one where things get creepy.
All right.
Which actor or actress, no judgment, do you find so attractive that you would wear out a VHS tape of them?
I feel like the only correct answer to this is if there was a VHS of my beautiful wife.
I'm not finished.
That would be the one.
Done.
Or The Rock, obviously.
Well, there you go. Both ends of the scale. Oh, man, you edged that so well. You've really covered your bases there. Nicely done.
Thanks, mate.
Awesome.
I work hard.
So, yeah, that is the quiz. Now we know who you are. You are worthy of giving us your list of 10 films. So let's start things off with a little bit of music, and we will come back with the top 10 movies of Matt Grimm Basso here on 100.5 WOWFM. Don't forget, you can join in the conversation. Jump on our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM. It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard, talking about Matt Grimm Basso's 10 favourite films of all time. And we are starting with the greatest baseball film in the history of mankind.
Ever.
How
of all
have
time.
you managed... we did a sports show many moons ago, and we had to pick the best sports movies of all time.
Okay.
I rallied and got this over the line at number 1.
Good.
It really upset a lot of sports fans that tuned in. It was a good time.
Really?
Because, they wanted legit, underdog stories and stuff. And I'm like, no, I want a movie about a giant dog stealing a baseball sign by Babe Ruth. Why did you pick this amazing film from 1993? As we heard there, it's referred to as The Sandlot in the US, but because UK and Australian audiences did not know what a Sandlot is, it was called The Sandlot Kids, just in case you didn't realise. There is 2 sequels to this film that are absolutely terrible. Why did you pick this one?
Because I think, like you've hit it on the head, it's so good from back in the day. We grew up, they were kids, we were kids. We didn't really have baseball in Australia.
Yep.
So it became automatically like this cool thing that we didn't have here. Like we could go out and play cricket. So therefore I wasn't really that interested in watching movies about cricket. I don't think there are good movies about cricket, are there?
I wouldn't even be able to name one.
There you go.
There's cricket in the movie called Ned from 2003, which is about Ned Kelly. And it's amazing.
All right.
I have to bring that up whenever I can.
Good.
Yeah, man, this film is so nostalgic to anyone that saw it. I recently convinced a good friend of the show to watch it for the first time as an adult. She said it was lovely, but it was lacking that credence you give the film because it's so nostalgic. Because I don't think a school holiday passed after 1993 where it wasn't played on free-to-air TV at least twice.
Yeah, we had it on VHS, so we thrashed it growing up, me and my brother. And, it spawned off this love for so many, we wanted to, we'd go out and we'd pretend like we're playing baseball. We didn't have gloves. So, I think we made up some gloves out of something, and then I think one day we went down to a Vinnie's or an op shop and we got some gloves. We were so excited. And you're throwing a cricket or a tennis ball around pretending that it's a baseball.
Yeah. Baseball was, like you say, it was quite, for lack of a better term, it was a quite foreign game to a lot of Aussies.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't, it's like people that got heaps into baseball back in the day are much like the girls that got heaps into horses. It's like, cool, that is a hobby that exists, but it's still kind of weird that you're into it.
Yes.
That's my opinion, of course. I don't want you to upset all the RCW horse fans. I know there's a big Venn diagram of overlap there. So
I went to Urbray, so there was a lot of horse people at my school. Respect out to you guys.
Shout out to Matt Grimm Basso's horse girl crew.
But I mean, what else was there in this? I mean, that's where we found out about s'mores. It's where
Australians learned who Babe Ruth were. I don't
Right.
care what you're saying.
We went and watched baseball one day. We went on a walk and there was a baseball field and it was saying, so we just sat down and watched. And it was great. And then they hit a ball over the fence and we happened to get it. They left just without the ball. So we're like, oh, well, we'll keep it then. No worries. And then Donna did a fake Babe Ruth signature on it and now it sits on our mantle.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah. I wish it was a real one, but, you know,
Hey,
I'm pretty sure we can't get his autograph anymore. So,
it's much like wrestling. It's real to you.
yeah,
That's all
it.
that matters.
Yeah. But since then, you know, S'mores, Wendy Peppercorn, I think most dudes had a crush on her growing up. Yeah, a love of giant dogs.
Yep.
The Beast. I mean, how cool was he?
That's it. Every time I say, because what is it? What is it? I do know what kind of dog it is, but I cannot think.
A large one.
Yeah, a big one.
Yeah. A thing.
Yeah, a
big one.
A big dog.
Eats children.
Yes.
Yes.
A big wolfy boy.
And it's owned by Darth Vader.
It is owned by Darth Vader or aka Mufasa or King. I'm totally forgetting the name.
Anyone with a cool voice.
Yeah, pretty much anyone with a cool voice.
Yeah.
Including
it was probably him.
2020's version of Lion King because he's still Mufasa in that.
Can't get another Mufasa.
And going back to the question about who would play you in a biopic, of course, Ham Porter, played by Patrick Renner, would play me in a biopic any day of the week. If only my freckles didn't fade as much as they did. What else made your school holidays listing? Obviously not off the list, but did you have others like a staple in, well, I still watch them all, but like Mighty Ducks was right up there.
Yeah. I don't know why. We never really thrashed Mighty Ducks. It seems like the thing we should have loved.
Yeah.
You know, ice hockey, once again, I just talked about how we don't have baseball here, so it was a cool thing. We don't really have ice hockey here, and I'm like, whatever.
Did you ever get into the film Heavyweights?
No.
It was
Never
about...
even heard of it.
It was a film about a fat camp. And Jerry Stiller runs it, and he lets the kids get fatter than they came. Like, he just lets them eat and do whatever they want. It gets taken over by Ben Stiller's character that's pretty much like his character from Dodgeball.
Yes.
And he makes the kids all exercise. And the whole movie is like, these are the dangers of exercising. So I know you can't tell from looking at me, but it really resonated with me as a kid.
Specimen of health.
That's it. If you weren't sitting across from the long distance running vegan that you are, you would just be like, what's he talking about? But yeah.
No, I did see that one because I'd never heard of it. And when we got Disney Plus...
Yep.
Because it's fantastic and Disney. The first movie we watched was The Sandlot, and then we're having this exact question of what other sort of childhood ones do you watch? And Donna brought that one up, and we watched it, and I was like, this is just the guy from Dodgeball. He's just redone the character again.
100%.
It's the same gimmick.
And, like, talking about, like, baseball films as well, like, a lot of people like to bring up Rookie of the Year and League of Their Own and Major League with Charlie Sheen and that.
Was Rookie of the Year the one where he broke his arm?
He broke his arm and
then
it's
it became some
to be a thing.
Yeah.
That's played by Kevin from American Pie, if you remember your American Pie lore from 2003.
Your Kevinology.
Yeah. But you can take all your garbage films and throw them in the garbage where they belong because there is only one true baseball movie and it's this. Some will say Field of Dreams. But
don't worry about those guys, mate.
yeah, where's the giant dog in Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
I don't see Ray Liotta and Kevin Costner crying over a giant dog that stole their ball. Stupid movie.
They didn't eat a s'more once.
I want to take over from David and Margaret reviewing films where I just rate all movies to how close to The Sandlot they are. Much like this show here where I'm like, oh, this is an art house film starring Adrian Brody. It's a silent, foreign language film, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like Sandlot Kids. Zero stars.
One Sandlot.
One Ham Porter, one Wendy Peppercorn out of 5. That is how things should go. Let's get back into your next film here on DVG. It is DVG as we continue Matt Grimm Basso's favourite films of all time, and we have hit a game changer. It changed the world of science fiction. It made sure that if you were going to bring special effects to a movie, you better bring your A game because we are talking about, from 1999, one of the greatest years of film of all time, The Matrix. Why did you pick this film?
Do you ever just feel like there's just got to be something else out there, like to actual reality? And this is one of the things that actually gave a pretty good explanation of what the hell it might be. It sort of covered a lot of bases.
I always wonder, like, because at the time we were obviously high school idiots, and it was more about the marketing at the time, because I remember the way the first Matrix was marketed. It was, they wouldn't tell you what the Matrix was. That was the spin on it. Much like Fight Club was, you can't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
The advertising for the Matrix was, we can't tell you what the Matrix is. You just have to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And that was so effective. And then you went and saw it and you're like, oh, I'm part of the in crowd now that I know what the Matrix is. I'm not going to tell anyone else, because at the same time you also don't get it at all.
Yeah.
But I often wonder how many people that were on the fence in 99 about just existence in general saw this film and it tipped them over, because it is such a high concept science fiction film for its time that it's just like, I think if I was in a fragile state of mind at the time, this would have been it. I would stop believing that reality was reality.
Well, I mean, definitely as a movie, because that's what we're talking about. As a movie for its time, it was incredible. It was so good. But the actual, like, the concept that it was talking about is still a big current thing that's still being really debated about whether we're in a simulation. Like, it's... And I'm a giant conspiracy theory guy. I love it. So anything that gives you like an actual credible sort of sounding explanation, or something that was conceivably realistic, they talked about deja vu in there when they had the cat go past and what that meant. And like, no one knows what deja vu is.
Yeah.
Everyone's had it. And when you have it, it feels like the most realistic thing. And you're like, why? What is going on here? Why have I lived this before?
If The Matrix didn't come out, Deja Vu would just be the Denzel Washington movie no one saw.
That was a good movie.
I never saw it.
Oh, mate.
That's everyone.
You're the movie guy.
I generalise myself.
Come on. Get it off
Maybe I have
VHS.
seen it.
Yeah.
Also with The Matrix, like, the casting was incredible.
Yeah.
One of the first big films, well, not the first big films, but it changed the film industry in Australia, because it was all shot in Sydney.
Yes.
Which was quite funny if you go back and watch it, how many extras cast members of Heartbreak High and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
Like when Neo's buying floppy... Oh, that's the funniest thing about rewatching it now, is that everything's done on floppy disk. And it's like, you couldn't even fit all of Lemmings on one floppy disk. I don't know what they're talking about. Man, this film, the special effects, particularly a lot of the slow-mo 360 camera that was invented for this film, it started getting, if it wasn't parodied, it was genuinely used.
Yes.
And even to this day, obviously it's done more so with CGI, pretty much every Marvel movie owes a debt to The Matrix.
Oh, so many movies. Even the liquefying of like the glass when the helicopter went into that building.
Yep.
Any of those sorts of effects to make them look realistic, but still, obviously out of the norm. All owes to that.
Because one thing about the Wachowskis as well at the time was, say, like, particularly the first thing where Neo's first in a simulation and Morpheus jumps from building to building.
Mm-hmm.
And he's watching it and realizing that I'm not in reality. Yeah, and he goes, whoa. That isn't shot the way that anyone filming action films at the time would have shot it. You would have usually got just a shot that showed how far the expanse was and the jump. Mm-hmm. This was filmed from above, and it flipped and it turned and followed. Like, just the inventive camera work in this film is amazing. And one of my favourite things is, even though the two sequels of this film are garbage.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh,
no.
He's left. He's left. As upsetting as the sequels are, should I say, there is a blooper from the second one which opens up with Neo and Trinity storming like a high-tech bank vault type place.
Yep.
And it was all done practically in the sense that the pillar behind Neo that he's hiding behind gets completely decimated by machine gun fire. There is an actual take where they did it all practically, and as Keanu Reeves gets up to run, all the debris that's fallen makes him slip over and totally ruin that take. And if you find it on YouTube, it is so much fun just to watch so much money crash and burn in this long take shot.
And retake.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Because they would have had to completely rebuild the structure, the pillar itself, put all the squibs and stuff in, repaint it to look like marble. Good times.
Now, I don't know. I heard this as a rumor, and I don't know if it's true because I just didn't bother to do the research. I just take Facebook at,
That's
as the truth.
the spirit animal of this show then.
Yeah. That apparently they got a budget to make the movie that was only a fraction of what they were after. So they blew it all filming the first scene.
Yes.
and then showed the backers the first scene and went, if you give us another, 10 times that, we'll make the rest of the movie.
They essentially made it what's known as a sizzle reel.
Okay.
Where they went away and went, this is what we could do if only we had some monies and the
How's the balls?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a Hail Mary and it paid off because this was the biggest film of the year at the time. Like it was, you couldn't go anywhere where it either was being parodied or referenced or just copied. Like, and I also like, there are some lesser level imitators of The Matrix, and I love them as well. There is a film called 13th Floor.
Fantastic.
An amazing movie. I
Yes.
absolutely love that. And I also love on the other side, the action side of things, is Equilibrium with Christian Bale.
Haven't seen that one.
It is set in a future where you can't have feelings. So you take suppressive things, and Sean Bean and Christian Bale are both agents that go around with ninja swords and stuff. It's pretty much someone watched The Matrix and then went, I'm going to write The Matrix. But I highly recommend it because it's heaps of fun.
Of course, you can't go past Agent Smith as the bad guy with his cool calmness throughout the whole thing and then just losing his mind at the end. That's what makes a great villain, I reckon.
I want anyone that was sitting watching, I believe it was 93, 94-ish, watching Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and seeing Hugo Weaving and going, he's going to be one of the most menacing villains of all time in a few years.
That's who I'm going to cast as my bad guy.
Now, off the back of that, we really need him to both be one of the biggest Nazi bad guys in the Marvel universe. We also need him to voice Megatron in the Transformers films.
And he needs to be the head elf in Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Oh, man.
He was in all the big trilogies.
I was going to say, he really has put his mark on everything.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Look at him. And there was $1 million off him in. I can't believe he didn't like the sequels. Oh, I can't believe it because lots of people
Discuss.
They're fantastic. They're great. They just kept building on the lore. I don't know why they copped so much heat.
For me, the third one got a bit much like RoboCop. It just got a little bit Jeebusy for my liking.
Jeebusy?
Yeah.
Is that a technical term?
It is a technical term.
Okay, all right. Didn't like The Architect?
No. I've got to shout it out. There was at the MTV Movie Awards in, I reckon it was 2000 or 2001, Will Ferrell, Justin Timberlake, and Sean William Scott did a parody of The Matrix.
And it was fantastic.
The bit where they go see the architect played by Will Ferrell, and he's just talking to Neo, but he's just making up words. And he's like, concordally, concussion, and just saying all these words.
Vis-a-vis.
Yeah, vis-a-vis.
I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
Don't you open that door. Don't.
And he starts losing it.
Yeah. What a great parody. Yeah, what else is there to say? I'm really surprised that you're going to go into bat and put your name next to the sequels.
I'm all about them. I love the whole story. I love the whole lore.
Were you weird of enough kid to get into the Animatrix?
Yes.
Cool, weird kid.
Cool. I thought, like, even that as a concept, let's get 7 different directors and artist styles to do different stories, was once again, like, another reason why the Matrix sort of set themselves apart.
Keep talking.
I'm not even going to argue that. I'm a giant nerd. But yeah, like, it's just they were taking risks, and the risks paid off, and it was really cool. And that's apparently they keep saying because the fourth one's coming out, The Matrix.
Yes,
you're gonna get that one made, and they're saying if you're looking for inspiration of where it's going, to look at the Animatrix.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
well, there would be a lot of excited nerds out there.
Yeah,
yeah,
mate,
good times.
It's awesome. Well, you didn't get into them.
No, not a fan.
No.
It was for people that just got a little bit too much into Linkin Park. Like, I got into surface level new metal Linkin Park, but the Animatrix were for people that were like, I'm going to get Chester tattooed on my face.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
This is DVG. All the controversial ideas. Enjoy this next one. It is Dave's Video Graveyard as we continue through the count of Matt Grimm Basso. Now, before we go any further, let us know where people can check out your social medias.
Well, if you can, that is, because I'm probably about to delete them all.
Oh, he's upset. He's going back and putting all his energy into the Animatrix fan fiction.
Oh, that's it, man. I'm just going to become a writer. You can check out Matt Grimm Basso. That's pretty much what it is. If you search that, it's got 1 T in Matt, 2 M's in Grimm. And
ignore that red squiggly line telling you that that's not how Matt's spelled.
The squiggly line should just disappear forever.
Ignore the paperclip that's like, are you trying to write Matt?
The wizard popping up.
Yeah. The next film you have chosen is a bit of a serious turn for everyone's favourite funny man from the 90s. We're talking about Jim Carrey because you've picked Man on the Moon.
Yes.
Why'd you pick this film?
Because I love wrestling and I've got a really weird sense of humour sometimes, I guess. So we watched this one from a long time ago. We just sort of stumbled across it and hadn't really heard too much about it, but we love Jim Carrey. We watched it because we knew wrestling was in it. We saw, what's his name? Jerry the King Lawler, JR pop up in the previews. So yeah, jumped on it and then just got obsessed with the whole story.
You definitely have to also appreciate the essentially the kayfabe side of Andy Kaufman's life.
Completely. Yeah.
No one knew what was a work with him.
No.
Even to this day, people think his death was a work.
And that's half the beauty of his whole sense of humour and his whole majesty, I guess. And that's half my sense of humour. This is why I relate so well with it, is because I just really enjoy messing with people with no real need for a payoff.
Yeah.
One of my favourite games is just pretending that I'm an idiot and just trying to confuse. You get people frustrated and just keep repeating the same questions and then just don't really tell them that you were pretending the whole time. And then they just get frustrated. It's fun.
Nothing makes life easier than lowering people's expectations of you.
Oh, it's great. But there's a scene in there where he's trying to pitch a show to the producers of his show, and he wants, during the show, for the vertical hold to start messing up. So the guys, because it's on the old TVs, so they'd get up and they'd start banging on their TV going, what's wrong with this thing? And there was nothing wrong with it. So that's what they were transmitting out there. And they weren't going to explain that that's what it was. He just wanted people to get up and start banging on their TVs and get frustrated with it and then think that they've fixed it somehow. That was his whole... there was 3 people in the world that knew about the joke, and that was enough for him.
It is amazing. And just that commitment. Have you watched Andy and I?
Yes. Oh, my God.
It was kind of everyone's peek into the ever-transforming Jim Carrey, the I guess, for lack of a better term, the woke Jim Carrey that we've got now, and he's the ticking time bomb in a positive way because he just doesn't care anymore.
No, and it's great. Yeah. And this is what I always find weird with this, I suppose, woke thing and whatnot now is I think some of the best entertainers you got and you're ever going to have are bloody weird.
Yeah.
They've had weird pasts. They do weird things. They have weird interests. They have weird tics. They've gone in and studied, especially actors, they go in and study all these different personalities so they could portray them and whatnot. They're going to be some weird, obsessive sort of people.
It's almost like they need that duality in their personality for it to work because they almost get to like an introspective point where they're like, I've spent all my life making all these people laugh that it just comes natural and it's so easy. I'm now going to do the most selfish thing I can and just make myself laugh. And if you laugh along the way, that's great. But if you don't, I really don't care because this is for an audience of one. And to be able to do that as an artist, what a dream.
Right. And that's what Andy Kaufman was doing.
Yep.
And that's what Jim Carrey just tagged along with. And went, this is fantastic. It's awesome.
And I like in this kind of thing, I love where something takes way more effort than the actual payoff of the joke. That's probably my favourite thing. Like,
it's the best.
I always loved the band Tism were contracted to release another album.
Yeah.
So they spent all this money making the album and they released them in boxes that were a hard plastic Perspex box that was way more durable than the record inside and sealed it on all sides. And so no one's actually heard the record because there was stipulations where it didn't matter how many they released. They just had to record it. So they released 100 and it was impossible to get out of the box without breaking the record that it was on. And I just love that approach to life. Like, anytime you can just mess with someone and the payoff be way less than the effort it takes. One of my favourite skits in a television show ever was, do you remember Upright Citizens Brigade at all?
No.
They had this reoccurring joke on their show where they'd go to people's house and say, listen, for $10, we'll clean your warehouse for you.
Okay.
And the people are like, like $10, but it's it's like
enormous.
a Indiana Jones style warehouse. Are you really going to? They're like, yeah, well, listen, make it 100. We'll clean it out. We'll spend all thing. They then set up a time lapse camera, spend like 20 hours cleaning it out, and then spent 20 hours putting everything back exactly where it was, and then running off and not getting the $10. And that was the joke to them. And that was so bad that it was great.
It's fantastic.
Just that approach to comedy is next level.
Yeah, and then, like you said, as a wrestler, just the attachment to the kayfabe that he had.
Yep.
And that idea of, if you don't know what kayfabe is, and you don't know what the hell we're talking about, just this keeping an illusion of something.
Yep.
Whatever it is that you want to keep. Magicians have kayfabe.
It's method acting for life, essentially.
Yeah. That Andy Kaufman he was one of the biggest pioneers of evolving that.
Yep.
Through they jumped on David Letterman and had the segment on there, and it sort of crossed over into, wrestling was, it was wrestling. It was in the territories. But he brought it onto that big mainstream TV, and it crossed over where they thought he had Jerry the King Lawler slap him on TV and break, with a sore neck.
Yeah.
And they ran with it.
It became the blueprint of entertainment.
Yeah, yeah, and they were getting, the network was threatening to sort of shut down Letterman because of what happened and whatnot. And they're like, guys, you've got to come clean on this. Like, what do you mean it was all work?
And the amazing thing of also having a character that Andy Kaufman always wanted to open up for him was Tony Clifton. Tony Clifton was a lounge singer, and one of the best things it's in this movie, but it's also in a few different documentaries. There is a part where the MC at the comedy club comes out and says, listen, our next guest is quite sensitive to smoke, so they need everyone in the audience to extinguish their smoke. And because obviously back in the club days of like everyone's smoking cigar
inside.
So he's not coming on stage till everyone puts their cigars out. So you see all these people like carefully chopping and looking after their cigars,
begrudgingly,
really upset. They're like, all right, we'll entertain this amazing comic genius, only for him to walk out with 2 cigars in his one in his hand and one in his mouth. Smoking a cigar was just perfection.
It was just brilliant. It's ultimate sort of heel bad guy wrestler stuff, and he was just doing it in life.
And at no point did Andy Kaufman ever admit that he was Tony Clifton, which was another part of the comedy for himself.
That's right.
To the point where he actually used to get one of his managers and best friends to also play the part so that they could both show up in the same place.
Like, he would do it to his detriment. He would probably get further if he just admitted that it was a thing. But no, he was holding himself back just for his own amusement. And it was fantastic.
Yeah. If you haven't, check out Man on the Moon. It is a comedy classic. We continue the movies right now here on DVG. 2010, we saw the sequel that no one really was asking for because it was a film from 1983-ish or even earlier than that.
I think it was earlier.
We are talking about the sequel to Tron Legacy, picked by Matt Grimm Basso. Why did you pick this magical, fantastical film?
It blew me away the first time we saw it. It set a whole new world, much like The Matrix, where if it creates a world that you can actually believe, and it's something that's so far out of the norm or the expectation. Like it's obviously, if you haven't seen it, it's all set in the computer world. Basically, a guy gets sucked into his computer, and this is living on the grid. And it's familiar, but it's different, and it's a weird parody look at our life and then how a computer would actually see it, or a computer program would see it. It had the first de-aging thing of Jeff Bridges,
which blew my mind to see at the cinemas. This film also, like we're saying, with the way that The Matrix informed science fiction going forward, I feel like the special effects in Tron Legacy informed science fiction moving forward of how things had to look. Because at that time, obviously Tron was a sequel, but you got the likes of like Ender's Game, all those movies that were rushed out into production that all borrowed heavily. Because obviously this pays homage to the original film, but also leans a little bit on that Blade Runner aesthetic.
Yes, definitely.
Whereas moving forward, like I liken the next film that blew my mind was on your list of honourable mentions, which was Ready Player One.
Oh,
and I put
fantastic.
Both those films in the same area of just being visually flawless.
Yes. Yeah, and just takes you to another world and lets you just imagination run wild.
Yeah. We spoke earlier in the week when we were talking about your list for Ready Player One. That, to my son Oliver, was what Jurassic Park was to me. Like going to the movies and seeing real dinosaurs on the screen. That's what my son got watching Ready Player One.
Yeah, it's that full suspension of disbelief. And it's if it's especially if it's something that you want to do or that you have an interest in.
Well, because I also didn't know if I was going to keep my son Oliver. I hadn't made my mind up yet whether I'd return him or not. And he called the Battletoads. He's like, Dad, it's the Battletoads. And I'm like, keep him.
All right, keep him.
Keeping him.
Well done. Well done.
So he's in that, and the fact that whenever he picks a film to watch, it's Uncle Buck. So
mate.
Got to keep her.
You've done well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But Tron,
how often do you revisit this one?
At least once a year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, come on. It's fantastic. It's another one. I just can't really get enough of it. And it's just this full-on sleek aesthetic. I think the lighting is cool. I saw a Nintendo 64 that was done up as a Tron 64, and I lost my mind and wanted to buy it, but it was like $1,000, and I don't have money, so that hurt me a little bit inside.
You know, they made in this. There's obviously the Tron bikes. They made them legit work.
Yeah,
which for the fact that the wheel has no inners
is fantastic.
Blows my mind. I cannot grasp that concept.
So that was one thing that I sort of had I didn't see the first one until after I saw this one.
Yeah.
Because the first one was old, and, you know, I was a younger person watching this and had no interest in old movies. But after I, loved this one, then I went back and watched the old one. And something I really loved about the first one was the light bikes in that could just turn at 90 degrees.
Yes.
100 miles an hour because there was no gravity, so it didn't really matter.
Because it was pretty much Tron, for anyone that doesn't know, it's pretty much Snake. It's a two-player Snake where you've got to cut off the other person with your snake.
Pretty much, yeah. And they made the actual arcade game, and it sort of that made sense. And then in this one, that was my only sort of, not gripe with it, but in this one, the bikes and the cars were more like our bikes and cars, where there's still gravity, they're going around the track, it has to have a banked corners and things like that. And it looked really cool, and honestly, I'm saying it's a gripe, I just let it go because I love the movie and I don't really care, it doesn't make a difference. Listen to me, I'm going like, this is the unbelievable bit, that it had to have banked corners in a non-gravity world. Ho, 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 ho. You got sucked into a computer, I don't care.
Ignore 25-year-old Jeff Bridges while I tell you what's unrealistic in this film.
Yeah.
The other thing, like I was saying, like I got to stop comparing it to Ready Player One, but Ready Player One is informed by a lot of the 80s video games, but more so modern gameplay.
Yes.
Whereas what I love about Tron with both the bike game and the tennis game, which is essentially Pong, they are drawing, because this was set in a time, the early 80s, video games, particularly 8-bit video games, they were going to be the future. Like the distant future was going to be those. Much like in the 90s with the likes of Lawnmower Man and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Virtual reality was going to be the thing.
God.
And whereas Ready Player One come around, they're like, oh, we probably should go back to the 80s because we have no idea where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, but then they had the whole idea of and I think Ready Player One, not that we're talking about that movie, but we are.
No.
Pretty well got it right in that I think the next big sort of gap is going to be that complete submersion.
Just, yes, absolute simulation.
Yeah, where you're in the suit so you can feel everything, or it'll be a headset that just, I don't know, stimulates your brain so you've got the idea of sensation or feeling or smell or whatever it is.
Did you ever play Virtual Sex on PlayStation 1?
I did not.
Okay. It would have segued perfectly.
We had one of our mates that had that.
Yep.
And he brought it to school because he had his PlayStation chipped.
Yeah, so
and
did
he
I.
brought it to school. He's like, oh, guys, look what I got. Oh, this thing, rah, rah, rah. And I think we went down to his house and it didn't work.
Oh, that would have been devastating.
Yeah. But he liked Linkin Park, so, now we're here.
So he's like, all right, kids, all right, guys, I'll put on the Animatrix instead. And then you all sat there waiting for the first person to go to the toilet to tease them. Ooh, where are you going? What? That wasn't a memory.
You're weird.
Yeah. While we're in the big brain section, it's about time we talked about this low-concept smart film that is the film Inception. It is Dave's Video Graveyard as we continue the countdown of Matt Basso's favourite films of all time. We are now talking about a Christopher Nolan film. He made Batman great again. He then made Batman vs. Wolverine Magic Fight, which is one of my favourite films as well.
Yeah, what?
Batman versus Wolverine magic fight.
Have
you not seen
never
that?
heard of this.
It's also called The Prestige, but yeah,
of course.
Batman versus Wolverine magic fight.
Now I get what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah. So Christopher Nolan was doing quite well, and he decided it was time to go. Is it wrong to say perhaps the highest concept film ever made?
Jeez, it's got to be close.
Yeah.
He was sitting on it for like 7 years or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just waiting for the technology to be right and just refining it over and over again.
We talked off air. I also likened it to Interstellar, but I realised that's also a Christopher Nolan film.
Same director, same guy.
And because the world we were introduced him through the film Memento.
Yes.
With Guy Pearce, or was it Hugo Weaving?
I think it was Guy Pearce.
It was one of the Priscilla guys.
Yeah.
They're doing all right.
The one that went backwards and backwards and backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then was in Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Yeah, good
So
job.
he's one of my favourite directors, and that's I think I'm probably just automatically involved in the movie because I'm like, oh, it's Chris Nolan, it's gonna be fantastic.
Well, at the time as well, because you look, he'd like obviously done the Dark Knight trilogy. He's got DiCaprio on board.
Yep.
He's got Tom Hardy on board, which was like the hottest thing at the time.
Michael Caine.
It is a pretty flawless film if you get it. And there's nothing wrong with not getting this film.
The thing about it is there's so much to it. There's so many levels, literally and metaphorically.
I saw an interview with Christopher Nolan where he wasn't defending himself because he never does. He just said that I like to leave things open for interpretation because where's the fun in watching something where you're told every step of the way how to think, what to think?
Yeah.
And this even informed like the career of like Scorsese and DiCaprio started doing things like with Shutter Island. I felt like that was a fan film of he's like, I want to mess with, and I can see where your brain went from seeing 1999, seeing The Matrix.
Yep.
And then 11 years later, this being the film you absolutely fell in love with because it is that high concept question of reality. It's
another one of those unanswered questions of what are dreams.
Films to have existential crises too. It seems to be your favorite.
Totally. Yeah. It was the same with Tron. There's a whole world in there, and this is a whole world, and they keep building the world, and the more that they build their own lore and they stick to their own lore, it just makes more sense. It reinforces the world. Plus, you got that. You got one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. And once again, on the Nerd Alert, if you go into the special features and you talk about the songs that are used in there, the layers of as they go down in dream layers and time slows down, it's the same song from the top layer, but just slowed down a million times. I'm so sorry. It's just, there's so much to this. And
why are you so obsessed with a different reality? I know you said off air it was something to do with being displeased with your wife, but why are you so unsatisfied with the reality you're in?
If I had to pinpoint it to something, I think it started with Peter Pan.
Yeah, right. Never Neverland.
Never Neverland, and his thing of not being afraid of death, and death is just the next big adventure because you don't know what's there.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and I'm not saying that I'm ready for death or anything like that because life's pretty good. But
I feel obliged to say, are you all right?
Are you okay, Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I'm great. I'm laughing.
Nice.
But just the whole thing of the unknown, I don't know why I'm stuck to it, but I love the idea that there's so many possibilities that I don't have to lock myself to one of them, if that makes sense.
Do you love the film Flatliners?
I've never seen the whole thing.
I feel like you would love the film.
That's the one where they kill each other and then bring each other back?
Not the modern one. There's the 80s one by Joel Schumacher, director of Batman, The Terrible Batman and The Good Lost Boys. He directed like Kevin Bacon, Keith Sutherland, and they are uni students that are looking for what's the other side of the next divide.
So we saw the new one come up on Netflix.
Yeah.
And me and Donna were having this chat of like, if you knew you could be brought back, would you do it?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I don't know. She had to put a lot of thought into it, She's like, would you do it? Straight away. Done. Sign me up.
It was weird. You were putting
go. Can you kill me now?
You were putting electrodes on your chest at the time. You're like, let's do it.
Yeah. It's just, so whether it's Peter Pan, whether it's Inception, Any of these unanswered questions that we've got of, what is deja vu? What are dreams? What happens after death? Is this after death? Is it a simulation? Any of those unanswered questions, if someone can give me a world around it that makes sense and that is plausible, I love getting into it.
Yeah.
Even things like, I love getting into alien theories. I love getting into religious theories. There was, I'm not religious, but there was, what was it, American Gods?
Yeah.
That was a cool show that came up. And the idea was that basically all the gods are real if you believe in them. And the more people that believe in them, the more powerful they get. And that sort of made sense to me as well, that if there was a thing that, maybe that would be how it works. But who the hell knows? So you don't have to, marry yourself to one. You just want to get more and more of them. Is this the X-Files? Mega pop.
Keep talking.
Well played. We just talked about maybe we should go back and watch this again. But then we're like, God, it's 10 seasons and movies. That's a lot to commit to.
If you get, the thing that you'll find if you revisit a lot of the X-Files is... Oh, sorry, I got caught in the song.
The techno remix.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
You will go back and you will be like, wow, every character actor in the history of mankind was in the X-Files at one point or the other.
Yeah, okay.
And so you spend nearly every episode just character actor. Yeah, you're
there he is. There he is.
There's the second Raiden, not the first one.
Oh, God. Do we acknowledge the second one?
No. Never happened. But we do get the hometown Mortal Kombat next year.
Yes.
We had the editor of the film on our show.
Oh, really?
That was super exciting.
Yeah, cool. Sweet.
Couldn't tell me anything. It was a good time.
All right. I got to be an extra on that, which was really fun.
Oh, you got in?
Yeah. So that was cool. So I got to see one of their sets where they were having MMA fight, and I immediately just wanted to move our wrestling gym there.
Yeah.
It's I knew it was a set and that everything was fake. But I was like, just leave it exactly as is.
You're going back to your artificial reality.
Yeah. Totally. Yep, it just looked like
I'm going to live here.
Yeah, that's it. I wanted to just move in.
And I can't disparage you because part of my garage looks like 1994. So we all do it in our own way.
Yes.
Awesome. How often do you rewatch Inception? Because it is quite grueling.
Yeah, this is a hard one. It's not as often.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just casually watch this with, I don't know, dinner or put it on while you're checking Facebook.
This and, basically Interstellar, you need to be in the mood.
Yeah.
You need to be well slept.
Yeah.
It's not a Sunday afternoon snooze film.
No.
You got to be switched on, showered.
Showered.
Just putting that out there.
Okay.
It's always good for our listeners to
hear.
Not
a dirty movie.
Not a dirty movie. Yeah, man.
You got to commit with this one. And if you're eating tea, you're going to miss a few things.
And don't watch it with anyone. That's another suggestion. And I don't mean that to disparage anyone. It's just you are I personally, you are processing so much of this film while you're watching it.
The more you can concentrate, the more you're going to love it.
If someone else asks you something and you're not switched into what they're thinking, you're like, shh.
Yeah.
I really don't understand anything right now.
And then go away and think about it, and then come back and watch it again, and you pick up more stuff, and then you watch it again, and then you look up the special features, and then you watch it again. And the more you go into it, he put insane amounts of detail into this movie.
Always does.
Insane amounts. Stuff that we wouldn't even notice. But then you find out about it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I even thought of that.
You go on YouTube and you look up things no one noticed in Ghostbusters, and it's like an 11-minute video. You go and things people miss in Inception, 1 of 6, and it's like a 2-hour video.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this looks like a lot of work.
Not to mention one of the greatest soundtracks of any movie that once again, that
wasn't Little Nicky
noise. Oh, good, well played. That big blah noise became a staple of every giant blockbuster movie afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Well played.
I find it funny because obviously Hans Zimmer did those amazing bois style things.
The bois?
It became in every trailer, but what I do love is when you watch a movie where it doesn't quite fit, but they've just
jammed it in there.
And the best example for me is World War Z with Brad Pitt.
Okay.
Because it is meant to be like a world sprawling epic, and they keep putting bois in, and you're like, nope.
Not buying it.
Does not belong.
Yeah. Also, really looking forward to Tenet, the new Chris Nolan one coming out. Looks like it's basically along the same lines.
Good times.
Yeah.
You know you're in for a light-hearted comedy when he rolls back.
I'm hoping it's going to be secretly connected to Inception because it's still about sort of, that sort of planting of things. Yes.
Good times. We didn't even mention Inception is visually stunning in every way.
Completely. Yeah. When the world folds up, when the chick is making the maze, she starts going, what happens if we start messing with reality here? And rah, and folds the world on top of itself. This is the one that if you got to see it in the cinemas, it's the perfect cinema movie.
100%. And like we've mentioned, all the films that like inspire movies moving forward, I've seen that effect done about 30 times since this film came out.
But that was the one that started it.
Yeah, it is the catalyst. This is DVG as we continue the countdown. Don't forget to join the conversation. Jump on our Facebook. It is Dave's Video Graveyard. We are hearing about a film from this year, if my memory serves well. It is released 2019, on the Red streaming service that is Netflix from 2019, The Platform.
Obviously.
Which you can either watch with subtitles or dubbed, and it's dubbed super well, so you instantly get over it.
It is. Any of you people that are out there and just going like, dubbing is just for weirdos and no, it's cool dub. Don't worry about it.
Now, the starting point is we'll read the synopsis as IMDb tells it to us. A vertical prison with 1 cell per level, 2 people per cell, 1 food platform, and 2 minutes per day to feed up. It goes from up to down. And essentially there is enough food on the elevator shaft, like the platform, for everyone on every level to eat. But it kind of shines a light on society itself because everyone at the top absolutely gorges themselves. Then everyone lower panics because they're going to miss out, so they gorge themselves. Then everyone lower down is getting scraps, and it's like a real spotlight on the nature of humans.
Yeah, because on the thing, every month you change levels, and you don't know where you're going to change to. So you might move down lower, or you might move up higher, and you know that if you're up higher, sweet, I've got to make the use of this while I've got it.
Yes.
So it sort of puts some urgency on there.
Because you're at the bottom level last week and all you got was like chicken bones.
Yeah.
So next week when you're at the top level,
all of a sudden there's cake and whole chickens.
Now, we spoke off air. We both have a massive irk that is the sound of other people eating or people eating like pigs. This movie is perhaps the jaws of horror for people that don't like the sound of eating.
It immediately sort of starts with that as well. And it's just guy, he's picking it up and he's just shoving it. You hear all that wet, sloppy noise and whatnot. So you automatically hate this guy.
Yeah.
You can't get past it. But then, I don't know, the rest of the movie goes on and you sort of, you get used to it. At least you don't have to live with them.
Yeah, exactly. And I found a lot of, obviously this was picked up and distributed by Netflix, but I have found a fair few pretty cool horror films just that have popped up on the streaming services. I'd never seen the Belko Experiment until quite recently. Have you seen that?
Also fantastic.
Yeah, and that just came out. I love. Obviously, we grew up in the video shop generation of going and picking it, but there is almost something to the easy delivering of the streaming services where something will come across your radar that you would never have picked up in a video shop.
Yeah, and you just we just came across this one, went, oh, that looks cool. Press play.
Yeah.
Done. And there it is. If I'd looked into it, I probably still would have hired it anyway. But, we just went and got with it. And I think that's really cool. We found another one the other day that was I Can See You, I think it was called. If you haven't seen that one, it just came out the other day. Real good,
I reckon I saw the...
so you check that one out. But this one, it's a real simple concept. And that's why I think I liked it. It wasn't sort of... as opposed to, your Inceptions and Matrix sort of thing, it didn't offer you any answer as to why they were in this prison or how the prison was constructed or how it worked or anything like that, why it was constructed.
You don't even know who's keeping there. And you do see, right at the end, you see the people preparing the meal. Because it's like a 5-star restaurant level, checking it with a little tape measure and making sure everything's perfect.
Yep. Very similar to Snowpiercer.
Yes.
Where it showed the top and bottom of society and threw the big spotlight onto that and showing how lavishly some people live and expect the people at the bottom to just have nothing and be okay with it.
It's not all Captain America eating babies.
eating babies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a good movie.
Okay. But it's... I like the idea of this shining a light on that society and going, hey, once again, this whole thing was about, because you're on the ride with these people that just rock up in there and have to get the answers themselves. They don't know where it is.
Yep.
They don't know why they're in there. They don't know how many levels are on this jail. So you're finding that all out as you go, which is cool. And then it shows you the highs, it shows you the lows, and all the gory, scary bits in between. I don't want to spoil it because it's new. Everyone needs to see it, and it's still in spoiler territory.
And please note, it comes on Netflix default setting French, I believe it is.
I think so.
Spanish. No, it's Spanish. Sorry, it comes default settings, but you can change it so that it's English dubbed or English subtitles. I suggest watching it any way you can. It's a lot more enjoyable English dubbed, in my opinion, but each to its own. Now, I'm realising the theme continues in your top 10 now, because travelling back to 2006, you've picked another film where there are layers of reality and the way they all play with each other. So I've got to ask, what are your feelings on the film Sucker Punch?
Also really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's that concept.
You've hit the nail on the head, mate. It's straight there. That... with cool soundtrack, big special effects. If it's got cool special effects, I'm on board.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a pretty easy guy to please.
I remember seeing the trailer for that, and there's like the mech samurai with like a chain gun. And I'm like,
giant one?
Yeah, I'm like, guess I'm seeing that movie.
Sweet, here we go.
The next film you've picked from 2006, it is Pan's Labyrinth, directed by Guillermo del Toro. It is very grueling as well. It's got layers of reality. It's a much more fantastical element, but there is nothing more scary than the Thin Man?
With the eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mate. One of the best character actors, again, going around.
Doug Jones. He also plays the Ice Cream Man in Legion.
Okay.
And that is another film that you probably love.
He actually played the Fawn in this movie as well. He was the two characters in this one.
He also plays Billy, the zombie with his lips sewn up in Hocus Pocus.
Did he?
He did.
Wow. Just watched that the other day.
He's also Hellboy's sidekick, which makes sense because it's a Guillermo thing. Because we had a recent argument because my co-host believed it was, I can't think of his name, but Niles from Frasier.
Okay.
And so we had a massive fight, and I won the first time ever something Frasier related involved me being interested.
Okay.
This film's set in 1944 Spain, and it is grueling.
It's full on. It's not a light-hearted. It's essentially just a really dark fairy tale, like all the fairy tales actually used to be before they got Disneyfied. It's set,
for lack of a better term, and to tie this evening together, it is grim.
It is grim.
Much like yourself.
Well played.
Thank you.
The fairies eat meat. The creepy Thin Man has, skin hanging off his bones. He's got eyes in his hands. The fawn creature that's leading this little girl through the story is all good as long as she plays along, and then as soon as something goes wrong, he's like yelling at her and abusing and cursing her and stuff. It's like, it's a real fairy tale, but it's a grim fairy tale. And that's why I liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you're so conceited that anything that's grim...
always got a fascination, for whatever reason, with giant trees.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Whether it's Yggdrasil, whether it's this one, the Deku tree from Zelda.
Evil Dead 2.
There you go. Even Sleepy Hollow had that big tree as well.
Yep.
Any of these cool big trees I love. So this one had one in there, so automatically it became a cool movie. And that's just how it works. Nice. If Inception had a big tree in there, it'd be an even better movie.
Oh, Treeception would be your show.
Right?
Of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've realised your fetish for alternate realities. Like, it's there.
Just like the idea that there's something else out there that you could sort of stumble across. Even, just any fairy tales.
Nice.
That's actually why Grimm, or one of the reasons why Grimm came up as my wrestling name.
I thought it was because you're a massive fan of the Sacha Baron Cohen show Grimsby, or Brothers Grimsby. Have you seen that film?
I have not.
He hides inside of an elephant.
Okay. Why not?
Get into it.
Getting kind of hot in these rhinos.
Now, I had to also ask, because obviously a big part of your character is Viking. Now, is it true? Because this is what Big Brody Marshall, your friend in Gods and Monsters, told me.
Yeah, he's probably
that
lying.
you were actually writing your bio and you wanted to have a cyclist character. But when you wrote Viking, you actually then accidentally hit V instead of B. So instead of having a biking character, you have a Viking character. Is that true?
Pretty much. I actually wanted, like, we already had Lycra being wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I just want to wear one of those big stack hats.
Yeah.
And just, when I was a clown gimmick, I used to come out on a little bike. So this isn't too far from the truth.
You're like, I don't want to follow any of society's rules either. So I'm going to be a cyclist.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on the line of the lane rather than in the lane and just try and deliberately piss everyone off.
3 abreast isn't the bike lane, guys.
Can you say abreast? Is that PG?
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
All right, cool.
3 a boob. You got to write 3 a boob.
Okay, there you go. That's better. Yeah, no, not biking at all. Although I do want to ride a bike one day, but not in Lycra.
Now that you've flexed your big brain,
Thanks.
you've got 10 minutes left of the show, so I think it's only fair that we jump into the derp section of your selections.
Good.
Because you have gone right to the top. This is DVG. That's right. We are talking all about Steel Magnolias. Grimm, why did you pick this film?
Because he's got a steel skeleton, and I thought that he liked flowers.
Nice. You've picked the greatest sequel of all time this evening.
Of all time.
And the greatest film of all time. Congratulations to you.
Well, I mean, I've got Predator as number 1.
Doesn't matter.
But this is right up there.
And while we're talking about the actioniest action in the action of action, you also picked Endgame.
I did.
Which is the first film to tie 21 films together or something along those lines.
Yeah, hell of a feat.
Successfully. Tie up most of the loose ends.
Yeah.
And visually just still somehow they're still finding ways to step up visual effects.
Yeah, and that the great thing was with that one is they really did a good job of tying in all the 21 movies, or however many there were.
Yeah.
So even just the Avengers Assemble pop, it was the first time they'd said it. They had so many opportunities to say it in the first Avengers, in the second one, in all these other opportunities they could. But they sort of held off and they held off and they held off, and then it was finally this moment.
It felt like no one missed out either.
No.
Like, it's not like they we'll cut Guardians short because we need to pay this off.
Everyone had their
They
bit.
managed to get everything. Yeah, dude, this movie, well, not just Terminator 2, which we'll come back to, but Endgame it was a feat. And I'm just excited that, obviously, with 2020 catching on fire.
Yes.
It was just awesome that we all got to see it in the cinemas before the fire started.
Yeah. And Brolin as Thanos as a not one-dimensional bad guy, but a bad guy who believed what he was doing, and there's actually a thought process to what he's doing that makes him the good guy of his story. Fantastic. You know, that's what you want. That's what makes a good bad guy, is that he's not just being a dick for no reason. He's actually trying to help, but he's just doing it in a dicky fashion.
Yeah, he's making the hard decision. His mindset, and it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you turn the tables, he's the one guy making the decision that's going to save everyone in the entire universe that no one else wanted to make, and he's fighting through all these other supervillains that are trying to stop him to make it happen. It's like, well played, Mr. Thanos. Sometimes, sometimes the world needs a 50% wipe. Who knows?
Now, you've picked possibly the 2 biggest, short of Die Hard, you've picked 2 of the biggest action films of all time in Predator and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Both starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, one directed by...
the greatest actor of all time.
One directed by John McTiernan, who is responsible for Die Hard. And then you get on the other side of things, directed by James Cameron of True Lies, Aliens, one of the other greatest sequels of all time. These films are peak action in every way.
And they are just pure macho, mannish bullcrap, and I love every second of it. Everyone just, like, Predator, they're all just jacked dudes, one-liners everywhere, and just firing guns, and it's fantastic. Like, that's how easy I am to please.
And I just love that we are talking about a film where Jean-Claude Van Damme was cut out of the film,
right?
And it made it a better film,
right?
I never thought that would exist, but it does, because for those who don't know, he was the original Predator creature. Stan Winston started the creature effects, but had another job that I believe it was perhaps aliens or something. There was something else he had to work on, so he left, and he wasn't happy with the design of Predator.
Well, he wanted to show off all his karate moves and stuff, and he couldn't do it.
Van Damme wanted to show off what an amazing action star he was, but he was going to be not seen at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You can actually look up on YouTube, see a lot of the footage with the orange prototype suit.
Oh, God, it was so bad.
It looked so bad. It looked like a prawn.
Yeah,
with the
it was
Power
so
it was
terrible. It would ruin the movie.
Between a putty from Power Rangers and a prawn is what it looked like. And we obviously ended up with the amazing design by Stan Winston that was the Predator. And funnily enough, Stan Winston has always said that on a flight where he was leaving, James Cameron was on the same flight and actually mentioned that he should make his creature have mandibles. And so James Cameron had a part in that. And with both Predator and Terminator 2, they're both films that were peak franchise.
Yes.
And they have tried many times to get back to that point. It just has not worked.
And can't do it. And yeah, it was like Terminator 2 was definitely the best, and it was, like we said, it was one of the best sequels of all time. Like, Terminator was great.
Yeah.
The first one. But you're not beating number 2. And number 3 was terrible, and we'll just pretend it never happened.
Yep.
But yeah, but like, I don't know, mate. Like, it gave us 2 of the most iconic otherworldly sort of creatures in the Terminator and the Predator, obviously. Predator has a whole backstory. It wasn't just a one-dimensional sort of alien. He fought with honor and things. And
I do love that the entire audience, bar none, of Predator ignores the opening scene that shows the spaceship landing, because you still...
That's right. I keep forgetting about that.
Totally put that out of your head, and you experience the Predator alien much like the warriors in this film do.
Yeah. And you rock up and they're skinned alive. That was another throwback to that awesome theory as well, is the reason why the Predator was skinning the...
to put them on the endoskeleton.
No, to find out if they were...
wow.
Because he got sent after the Terminator, and he was skinning these people to find out if they were the machine or not, they're actually just people.
I'm going to pass on your contact details to my wife for when she gets angry at 3 a.m. tonight when I'm still up reading.
Still reading all the stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, what a list though. Like, you have, it's very varied, and it's much more big brain than anyone would assume.
Okay, well, thank you. I think that's a compliment.
Backhanded compliment.
Yeah, cool. I just really hope, like, I went from some smart stuff, some funny stuff, but honestly, the big macho bullshit, that's my favorite. I just really hope they make a Gears of War movie with The Rock, John Cena, and Batista in it, because that would be fantastic.
That would be really good casting, but it almost looks like Cena's trying to slim down.
You reckon?
Looking more and more like Ernest. He was huge in Fighting Fire with Fire. No, Playing with Fire, the kids movie.
Oh, there you go.
With John Leguizamo, but his face is getting a bit thin, I think.
A bit how's he going? He's got that
like
dad
Ernest.
haircut now.
Yeah, he looks like
comb
Ernest.
over. It's like Ernest crossed with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, that's who he could play.
On the gear.
Ernest Goes Wahlberg will be his next film. It'll be great. Obviously, you guys have a show that is sold out. We were going to promote it coming up on the 8th of August.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about plugging that, but, don't need to now. So sold out in 5 hours.
I feel like you're not even going to have a show. It's that episode where Cartman opens the amusement park and won't let anyone in.
Yes, it's just
you
for
guys
us.
are just building.
Yeah.
You're just building want.
Yes, that's right. No, we're going to close it, and we'll just sell tickets more expensively next time.
Now, most importantly, where can people check out Riot City Wrestling?
You can jump on Facebook, you can jump on Instagram, YouTube. All our shows go up on YouTube, so you can go back and catch up on all the old stuff. But yeah, check us out on Facebook, Riot City Wrestling, Instagram, Twitter as well, but I don't really use Twitter. Does anyone use Twitter here?
Not in this room.
Not in this country?
No.
Everyone tells me it's important, but I don't know.
It is what it is.
But yeah, go check us out, and then come to the shows. Our gym's at Hindmarsh, and our shows are at Hindmarsh for now as well.
Nice.
Woohoo.
Awesome. Matt Grimm Basso, thank you so much for joining us here on DVG. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight, it'll be up on our YouTube, so just search for Dave's Video Graveyard at WOWFM and you will find it. And of course, make sure you head on over to our Facebook. Coming up, the Emerald Tower celebrating their birthday, so make sure you stick around here on WOWFM.
Woohoo.